Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 76. And today what we're going to do is we're going to have a topic that we talk about, hopefully something that you guys are interested in. And, oops, sirens, that's fun. And then after that, or while we're doing that, you guys are going to be sending us questions. So anything basketball related. It can be offense, defense, shooting, dribbling, rebounding, passing, whatever you want to talk about, we will do our best to answer your questions from the coaching and playing perspective. So make sure you send us that right now, and we will get to that in just a few minutes after we have our topic. But our topic today is going to be two simple ways to improve your shooting. So hopefully these are just some quick tips that will help you in maybe making your shooting a little bit better or give you some things to work on. All right. So send us your questions. We are at Shot Science on Twitter. We are Shot Science on Facebook, Google+. And you can also send them to us in the Q&A app on the Google Plus app. And I think that's it. So let's get started. So number one, simple way to improve your shooting. What do you think it is?
Well, for me, one of the most important things is to have good footwork. Oftentimes what happens is that our footwork is not very good and we're off balance, we're not ready to deliver the ball. A friend of mine the other day was telling me about one of his players, and he was saying that this happens to be a girl. He said that she is always off balance when she's getting ready to shoot. And so we talked about footwork and that sort of thing. But one of the things that I think is so important, and there's people that have different ideas, but our particular take on footwork is this, is we like the idea of lead trail, 1, 2, or as we refer to it, stop and gather footwork. And the reason we call it stop and gather is we want the body to, body weight and whatnot, to be initially under control and stopping with our first foot, which is the plant foot, and then the other foot gathers our whole body ready to shoot it. And that is really important for us to be, number one, on balance and making sure that we got no drift one way or the other.
Yeah, and here's the other thing.
Hang on for just a sec, Casey. On the drift, oftentimes the drift can be forward and sometimes it can be fading, but that all affects the accuracy of your shot. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so what I was going to say is that when you do the stop, gather, 1, 2 motion, it's because what you're trying to do is convert that forward motion of your dribble attack or your stepping into the shot or stepping into the pass. You need to be able to convert that forward motion into upward explosion. And so what you're trying to do with the stop gather, and it may sound like it's slow, but that's not at all what it is. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get to the spot fast and use the stop gather to explode up instead of finding yourself drifting like you were talking about. Because if you start drifting in any direction, you're adding in a variable to your shot, which will make you less accurate.
Right.
And so the big thing that we think is important about this one simple way to improve your shooting is that you're able to get rhythm, you're able to go straight up into the shot so there's no variation or variable that will make your shot less accurate, and it's quicker.
Yeah, it is. One of the things that happens when you're using this kind of footwork is that as soon as you plant that foot and the other foot comes around, you're off. Some people profess that you need to hop into the shot. Well, you take and plant those feet, and then you take that hop, and then you go ahead and elevate. That is not faster than using 1, 2, lead trail, or stop and gather footwork.
Yeah, because if you're doing it in that scenario, you're going from high to low to high.
Yes.
And the other thing, too, is that if you're going in forward motion, and you run and jump and you're on 2 feet when you land, then you're going to have a hard time stopping your center of gravity or your center of mass. Mm-hmm. If you're going 1, 2 from a low to high position, you've eliminated the first high.
Yep. And
so it's going to be quicker, you're going to be more on balance, and you're going to be able to go more directionally straight up without any variation.
Right.
Okay, so that's one. Do you have more on that?
We'll come back to it if we need to. But number 2 is this. One of the things that we have to really remember when we're shooting the basketball is that we get a nice arc on the ball. And oftentimes when I have new students come in, one of the first things that we have to discuss is the fact that your shot is so flat that you have difficulty getting in the basket. And what happens is that when you shoot a shot that is flat, that just barely clears the rim but goes in, we can do that. We can shoot baskets with our eyes closed and make those too. But if we get one that's really flat, what we find out that the basket is only about 9.5 to 10 inches in diameter because of the angle of attack. And so what we really want to do to improve our shooting is to get a higher arc, and that arc, if you're standing away from the basket, let's say at the free throw line, the height of the arc, the very apex of the highest point of the arc, should be about 2 to 3 feet higher than the top of the backboard on its way. And that will be dropping the ball down into a much larger target. If you can get that kind of arc, what happens is now, because of the arc, you have a larger landing area, and that landing area increases to somewhere around 15 to 16 inches. And the interior edge measurement on that basket is 18 inches. And so 2 ladies' basketballs will go through that nicely. If they're dropped in from above, they'll go through there without any problem. The guys' basketball is a little different because they're about a ½ inch larger than the girls' basketballs, and so they actually will get there and they can't go through. However, by increasing the size of that basket because of that nice arc, that's going to really help you because you have a larger landing target than you do if you're shooting a flat shot. Now, the other thing that's really important with this nice arc is how do you get it? Well, how you get it is from your shooting position, whether it's at the shoulder or if it's up above your forehead like this. One of the things you want to do is the elbow always elevates to a point where it's higher than my eye level. And that usually will help us get the arc that we want on the shot. Now, what happens is that if we take and extend the arm out like this, you can see that the elbow is at or a little below my eye level, and so the shot will always be flat.
Yeah, so the ball will follow that trajectory, too.
Right, right. And so that's really important. Now, there's another element that comes into this that I think is really important, and that is the fact that when we put a flat shot toward the basket, we can almost, without fail, figure that it's going to, if we don't make it, it's going to result in a long rebound. Because what's going to happen is that because the angle of attack of the ball, if it hits the rim, it's coming back and it's going to be a long rebound. If we take and get a nice arc on the ball, and you know there's different feelings on that, but essentially the consensus seems to be around 45 to 55 degree angle as the ball is traveling toward the basket. And if we get that, then what happens, we get the larger target. But something else that we get that's really important is that the ball will tend to bound upward on a miss. And if it bounds upward on a miss, it should stay somewhere around the basket. And you get a good chance of that one going in just on the rebound because of the rebound up. And so those are important elements.
Yeah, I mean, so if you guys are trying to visualize why this all happens that way, try to think about it from the basketball's perspective. Like if you put eyeballs on the basketball and it's traveling towards the basket and you get good arc on it, you've elevated above your shooting eye and the ball is on its path to the basket, it's looking down at the basket and what it sees is the rim. And the more arc on it, the bigger the rim actually looks to the eyes on the basketball. And when you have a flat shot that's going kind of straight in, what you end up seeing, or what the basketball ends up seeing, is just a smaller opening for it to go in, which is not great. But the more arc you get, the bigger that target gets. So that's what you want to be aiming for, and that's why arc is important.
Yeah. And another point that kind of comes into all of this as well is that as you're finishing your stroke, and you know we really prefer the flop finish, which is a soft finish with the fingers, and it takes a while to learn how to do that. But what happens is that really soft finish with the wrist tends to impart less rotation on the basketball, and so there's less energy in the ball as it's on its way to the basket. When it runs into the rim and it's got a nice arc, it tends to bound upward, but not very far. And because there's not very much rotation on the ball. The more rotation you put on the ball, I know for years and years and years I've heard different coaches
flick it.
And they talk about flicking it and snap that wrist, snap that wrist.
Yeah.
Well, snapping the wrist tends to impart more rotation on the ball, and it becomes a live ball because of that rotation has all this energy that's captured in that basketball. And as soon as it hits something solid like the rim or even the backboard for that matter, it's going to really eject it as it expends all of that energy that's caught there. And if we can make it spin slower and still be accurate and whatnot, we're going to find that, and a nice arc is going to find that the ball will tend to stay up around the basket. And, you know, usually after our students begin to get it, it takes about 3 weeks of just really working on it pretty good until you start to get that relaxation. Now, the thing that's really important, if you get an idea of what that relaxation looks like, if you go to our video, that is a slow motion video. What's the title on that?
I think it's shooting a basketball in super slow motion or something like that.
And you can really see those fingers relax. And
1,000 frames per second.
Right.
Yeah, and you can see that happening. But, you know, one of the things that you need to think about, too, is that shooting the basketball is, especially in the upper body, it's all about being relaxed because it's a finesse type of movement.
Yep.
And when you add tension to that, that's when all that energy gets bound up in the basketball, and it's expended when it hits whatever the end target is.
Right.
So that'll be the rim or the backboard. So what you want to do is you want to work on being as relaxed as possible, and you do that through telling your body to relax those muscles, have a relaxed flop finish. All of those things will help you put less kinetic energy into the basketball. And when you talk about the spin on the ball, you want to make sure that you do have some rotation on it, because that does help stabilize it while it's in flight.
Right.
But if you have too much, then it does what you do. It's like throwing a top at the wall, and it'll just explode off in whatever direction. So you want to make sure you do have that gentle rotation on the basketball, because that will help in its flight, and it will help once it hits the rim to kind of have the fingers on the ball, and it'll stay in and around the rim.
Yeah, one of the elements about that finger release or wrist release that is really important too is that you don't shoot the ball softer. All your mechanics are shot at the same speed as you would if you're snapping your wrist. But what you do is that when you relax that wrist, it imparts all this or much less rotation on the ball, and that's really important for you to remember.
Okay, that was a bonus. That was 3 simple ways to improve your shooting. Okay, so hopefully those will kind of help you. So remember, that was about we were talking about footwork, so stepping into the shot, getting your rhythm, and number 2 was making sure you have a nice high release and elevate your shooting arm or elbow above your shooting eye. And number 3 was have that nice relaxed flop finish. All right.
You know, let me throw another note in here. One of the things, being an old track coach, it goes back a long time, one of the things that we used to teach our sprinters, because as you try to go faster, your body kind of tenses up, and that includes your jaw. And the tighter the jaw gets, the tighter the body gets. If you take and watch sprinters who have had some pretty good coaching, and especially if they get to the national, international level, if you look down, and sometimes I've seen this at like Olympic Games, they show a picture of the sprinters as they're racing down the straightaway for the finish in the 100-meter. You can see their lower jaw that it's just going. I know this looks kind of silly, but this lower jaw is so relaxed, and when you relax the lower jaw, the entire body relaxes as well. And so we always encourage them on jump shots. We tend to tense up a whole bunch, and so if you can learn to just relax that lower jaw when you take that jump shot, it's going to make it a lot easier to do that.
Yeah, tension will definitely kill your shots, as with a lot of finesse movements. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys. Let us know what you think about that in the comments. We'd love to hear back from you guys. What we're going to do now is you guys have been sending us questions since we started. And if you still have questions that you want to ask, be sure to send them to us at Shot Science on Twitter. We usually give those priority because they're easy to find. You can also send them to us on Facebook, Google+, and in the chat for this video on YouTube, and also in the Q&A app on Google+. Okay? So send those questions to us. And please go out there and tell your friends, family, whoever's into basketball to come watch our live show right now or in the future, just so that we can get more cool guests and stuff like that on. We've had, you know, NBA player Danny Green has been on, NBA champion Danny Green has been on. We've had a lot of college coaches and some AAU coaches that help get, or traveling team coaches that help get kids into college programs, and we'd love to bring more of those to you. So make sure you guys go out and tell your friends and family right now to watch. Okay, so start sending those questions to us. We're going to jump in and start answering them right now. Okay, so let's see. Here's one from Gene Woods, or Jean Woods, who says, how can I get better at a jump shot?
Well, you know, that shot.
One word, I think, is practice.
Yeah, no question about that. One of the things that we often do is we don't really give much attention to the elements of the shot. And once you kind of have that kind of down, and you have the footwork down for the jump shot, then it's just a matter of practice. In fact, one of the statements that I often leave on the internet to people who pose those kinds of questions is this: practice, practice, and then practice some more. And that's how you get better at it.
Yeah, and also just be conscious of the little mechanics that will help you with your shooting. And the other thing that we always talk about is efficiency with your shot. A lot of people try to add in all these little ticks and tricks and all this stuff. The real key to having a great jump shot is repeatability, and you achieve that through efficiency. And the better your repeatability is, the more accurate you'll be. You can see how the dominoes are falling on that one. So you want to make sure that you are as efficient as possible. Eliminate the variables that are not needed and just go for the most simple, streamlined shot that you possibly can, right? Okay, to Twitter we go. This one is from Andrew Thomas, who is at AKThomas19, who says, "Bro, the World Cup is on, though." We are sorry.
We have to make decisions.
Yeah, we're here every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and it just happens to coincide with the World Cup. But if you guys are here, we thank you for watching, and we do have people here, which is awesome. A lot of people. Okay, this one is from Nathan Thomas, who is at NateT_AF, who says, "Played a game recently. I couldn't handle much defense on my ball handling. How do I train for pressure on my ball handling?" Okay.
Okay.
Three pillars of practice, right?
Yes. You know, the thing that we forget about sometimes is the fact that we just practice at practice speed so much that we never really get a chance to get into a live scrimmage or something like that.
Practice speed meaning like casual?
Well, it's very casual, low speed, control. We're really focusing on the elements of what we're trying to do, and that's really important that we do that. And then as soon as you have, like we talk about the pillars, the three pillars in getting better, and one of those pillars is learning and then practicing some skill, whatever it happens to be.
Diligently working on that, breaking it down, slowing it down.
Yeah, and really getting it so that it works for you. And then when you kind of have that rolling for you, you go to the second pillar, and the second pillar is to actually work on that at game speed. And that's kind of hard to do sometimes because we think we're going hard and we're not. And so we have to learn how to play at a game speed in order to be effective to play at game speed. If we always play at practice speed, we're not going to be very good, we're not going to be very effective, and we're going to get our butts kicked. And so that's really important. And the third pillar is...
Well, hold on. Game speed, game intensity as well.
Yes,
so,
game intensity.
And the way that you set that up is you either have to get out there and visualize that you have a defender on you and you're working at it with that, in mind, or you get somebody to come out there and play defense on you, and you actually are working on developing those skills against somebody.
Exactly. And then finally, the third pillar is to get out and play. And the play situation is where you take all of this to the court, and maybe it's a pickup game with your buddies, maybe it is a practice that you have with your team, whatever it happens to be. Get out and put that stuff to work. And one of the things that I know from just my experience of being around this for a long time is that players, sometimes when they go to the court, they're afraid to really try to execute anything new that they've been working on because they're afraid they will not be successful and their buddies are going to give them crap over that. And what you really need to do is forget all that stuff, because the thing that's really important for you is realize that everything that you are learning to do in most physical things that we are involved in usually starts with failures first. And then after the failures, and we work our way through that, oh, there's a success. Okay. And then there's another failure or two, and then more successes follow up. And so we don't just come out and master something just because we worked on it and master it the first time we face a defender. We have to, first of all, kind of fail, and then we kind of figure out some of the little nuances that we have to use to be effective with that. And so it's important that you follow those three paths in order to develop your game.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that you have to be willing to fail to really progress.
Yeah.
I think there's that Michael Jordan commercial where he's talking about, I failed over and over and over again in my life, and with the ultimate goal of being able to succeed, or whatever he says. He's pointing out the fact that everybody is going to fail, especially if you're trying to be great at whatever you're trying to do. It doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to step out on the basketball court and be Michael Jordan day one.
Yeah.
So you need to just get over the fact that, oh, you may stumble sometimes, you may fall, you may trip, you may kick the ball out of bounds, you may have a funky shot for a little bit. But that's okay because you're working towards a goal, and you just have to be willing to get over that, because if you focus on that stuff, then that's really what's going to take over your development is worrying about that kind of stuff. You got to be able to push yourself to a goal and get over the failure points of that.
Right, and not being afraid to have your buddies give you grief. They probably are not working as hard as you are to get something new into their program. And so just what they have to say doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. What really means something is how much you're putting into it to improve yourself as a player, because you will improve.
Okay, here's one from Craig McHugh, who is at Real Craig McHugh. I think Craig is a coach, too, if I can remember correctly. He says, how can you transform yourself from an undersized low post player to a player who can attack the basket from the perimeter?
Well, that whole thing, you have to kind of re-educate yourself in skills on facing the basket. Oftentimes, players who play around the post, either the 4s or 5s, they have developed a few moves that they use. We like to take and encourage all players, whether they're post players or those facing the basket, to develop 2 or 3 moves and a couple of counters off those moves so that they can become effective. And all you need to do, really, if you're going to move out and face the basket, is just develop several things that you can use, that those are your go-to moves. And, you'd probably be a little less successful in the beginning, but as time goes by, you will grow and grow in doing that. It's a lot different when you're playing with your back to the basket than it is when you are facing the basket and facing the defender most of the time.
Yeah, and I think we talk about this almost every week, is the fact that we like to tell people that they should be an all-around, well-rounded player that can play at any position, and you should never try to pigeonhole yourself or find yourself pigeonholed as a post player, a perimeter player, a point guard, a 3 guard, or whatever. You really just want to approach the game as a great player that can do anything and everything. And so one of the ways that I think that you can really achieve that is to learn how to move without the ball.
Very key.
Yeah, and so, learn how to do things like V cuts, L cuts, backdoor cuts, learn how to flash in the post, learn how to seal in the post, learn how to set screens, learn how to, just not be the stagnant player that just waits for the ball, because really the key in the perimeter play, or even in the post, is really just creating space to receive the ball, and then after that, that's when you have to create space using, some kind of a dribble attack or a shot fake or a jab step. But check out our videos on moving without the ball, and then also check out our videos for after that on dribble attacks, offensive moves. I think we have a playlist just called Offensive Moves, and we have a ton of stuff like the jab step, the diamond, the hammer, and then all the dribble attacks that you can use to really be great at attacking off the perimeter.
And you don't have to learn all of those. One of the things that I do in working with students is I expose them to a number of them and give them this information. Take something from this, or 2 or 3 things from this, and see if that's something that you can make work for you, and with a couple of counters. And if you try to be good at everything in there, you don't have enough time in your life usually to do something like that. You just don't have time to do that.
Okay, here's one from DGK Stees, who says, how do I make my shot quicker so I don't get blocked?
Okay, well, one of the things you have to really understand before you, if you're getting blocked, the shot's not there. And so we would encourage you to take and look at our video on how to create space and what is a good shot.
Yep.
Oftentimes what we do is we catch the ball and we think we're open, and so we launch a shot up there and somebody blocks it. Well, if they block it like that, you haven't taken a good shot, because they shouldn't be able to close out and block that. If they are, then you should be giving them some kind of an up fake or some other move and going by them.
Well, I think a lot of people think that they have like Kobe clearance, and they can take whatever shot that they want when they have the basketball. Yeah. The reality is that either you're open when you catch the ball for the shot, or you're not. Yes. Or you can create space to set up an opportunity to take a shot.
That's right.
And typically it's going to be number 2 on that one.
Yep.
So what you really want to be able to do is create space, both when you don't have the ball and when you have the ball, because that will help you set up for a more open shot.
Right.
And the thing is, too, and I know you'll agree with this, is that you never want to rush your shot or your release, because if you do that, that's when you add tension, and you're going to add the repeatability is going to really drop off, and your accuracy is going to fall.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is essentially rush your feet, your footwork. If you're able to get that 1-2 stop gather footwork down, and you're meeting the ball, shortening the pass, then you will really create more space, and your shot will be quicker, and you won't have to rush the finesse part of your shot, which is what you don't want to rush. A lot of people think, oh, if I can get this quick release on my hands, quick release, I'm going to shoot, as fast as I can, then it's going to make my shot faster. You gain almost no time by doing that, and you make your shot worse.
Well, something that probably is really important, at least from our point of view, as far as getting a quicker shot, is not going through all of these other machinations with the basketball. One of the things that we really don't like is the dipping of the basketball. And,
because it's slower, unnecessary.
Slower, and
drags it through the defensive hands.
There's a number of reasons why we don't like it, but the players who catch that ball and it's into the up rhythm right away are very seldom blocked.
Yeah,
and the reason for that is, number one, they recognize them when they are open for the shot, but number two, there is no extra motion that is involved, which takes moments of time for you to get into that shot. And so, the one thing that I really liked about my son Chase's stroke is the fact that it was quick, but it was very efficient. He catch the ball, and it was right here, and it was gone. And there was never a hesitation, and I don't remember that in all the years that I saw him play that he was ever blocked. And he was not rushing the shot, but he was extremely efficient with it, and there was no dip involved in it either.
Well, that's something that we all worked on. All our brothers and this stuff worked on is that we wanted to eliminate these extra things that aren't necessary, because the dip is only used for rhythm.
It's a rhythm
and you don't need it for anything else. But you can eliminate it with 1-2 good footwork into your shot. And people think, oh well, I'm going to use it and it's going to be a magic pill. It doesn't do anything other than give you rhythm, and that's why you see guys, when they catch the ball at a standstill, that's why they're using it. And most of the time, somebody let's look at Steph Curry. He pretty much only does that dipping motion when he catches the ball at a dead standstill. He has zero rhythm. He can't do footwork to step into the shot because it'll be traveling.
And not enough time.
Not enough time, and so that's why he's forced to generate rhythm doing that. But when he is going off the dribble or he's going off the pass, he's going straight up into his shot because he's already generating the rhythm using his footwork. And if you're looking for somebody that has a quick shot, it's Steph Curry. The reason why is, number one, he's creating space, and number two, his shot is super efficient.
Yes.
He has no hitches, no hiccups, no stopping points. It is all one fluid, connected motion straight up from his feet up to his release.
Exactly. His brother Seth is the same way.
Yep. Or Klay Thompson, isn't it?
Klay Thompson's another one who is really efficient. Now, to say they never dip, that's not true, because they do. But just
in the scenario that we just talked about.
Right, in the scenario that you're talking about there. One of the things, too, is that from time to time, people will send us notes and saying, well, I get more power when I dip the ball. Well, you don't need power from the arms and shoulders so much. What you need is that power from those drivers, your legs and core muscles.
And hold on. Why do you need more power? If you need more power to elevate over somebody to shoot it, it's not a good shot.
No.
You should be taking shots where you are elevating at a comfortable height.
Exactly.
And if you're having to out jump somebody to shoot over them, not a good shot.
Well, the other thing is you can only jump as high as you can jump. If your limit, let's say, is 18 inches, you can't jump 20 inches because you want to.
And here's the other
thing is that when you do, the muscles of your body really tense up, and that's really negative as far as your shot release and everything is concerned.
Yeah, and look at this. Okay, two of the greatest shooters ever, let's say, are Ray Allen, Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Ray Allen elevates like crazy.
Yeah.
But that's because he can jump super high.
Yeah.
Larry Bird barely got off the ground on most of his shots. And so you don't need to elevate super high to jump or just take a jump shot. Yeah. You can if you didn't want to jump, you could pull that off too. It's all about creating space having a contested shot versus a non-contested shot. That's really what's important. Okay, shutting off the rant. Next question. Let's go to the chat here. This one is from Magic B-Ball 98, who says, how tall are both of you? I'm 6'2".
6'2".
And also, what would be a good workout/practice regime or regimen? I want to get bigger and stronger, but I also want to work on my shooting without being tired. Thanks. Without being tired. Okay. I would say that, especially if you're a young person, don't focus so much on weightlifting and all that stuff. And that's coming from somebody that does a lot of weightlifting and stuff. What you want to do is really focus on functional training. So things that translate perfectly to basketball athleticism. And so that means doing stuff like sprints, doing things like ladder drills, jump rope, dot drills, going into our vertical jump handbook and the vertical jump videos that we put together. All of those exercises are great and translate perfectly to basketball athleticism because we designed it for that. And if you go in there and you use those things that we show you in that, then you will be in good shape. You doing things like push-ups, pull-ups.
Plus, your vertical should improve as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about making your overall athleticism improve, not just your vertical. A lot of people get caught up in weightlifting and all this stuff, especially when they're young and teenage years and stuff like that. Don't worry about that, because what will really help your game improve is working on your game. And if you think that being able to add 20 pounds of muscle is going to take you to the next level in terms of your abilities, it will not. It will help you a little bit, but what will really take you to the next level is your ability to play basketball. And that's why you see people like Kevin Durant, who he's not out there bench pressing 300 pounds, but he can outplay anybody that he really goes up against. So you need to work more on developing your game and work on functional training and stuff that will help you be a better basketball player, that translate better to basketball.
Right. Well, there's another element in there I think is really improved too, is that when you get involved at a very young age in using heavy weights and whatnot, and your growth plates have not finished development, your growth hasn't been completed, what oftentimes happens is you can sometimes damage those, and you don't want to do that because that can limit your growth.
Well, here's the thing too, is that when you're training as a young person, a lot of times you think that you know what you're doing, and you really don't. And if you're training and you don't have a very seasoned, well-versed trainer that has the credentials to be training you, you should not be doing it, because there are very easy ways for you to injure yourself doing very simple things. Even if you watch somebody do it 100 times and you step in there and do it, you can hurt yourself. So it's better to do these functional movements where you are very much in control. There's no weight to worry about, and you are building up a strong foundation, which eventually, once you get a little bit older or a little bit more kind of capable of those movements, you will be much better off than anybody else that is starting their weight training program. If you do the vertical jump handbook stuff and you complete it all, and then eventually you move on to adding weights and doing squats or leg press or whatever it is that you do, you will be in such good shape because you've built up those movement patterns, and your muscles know what to do and how to have the proper motion, and form check is there. You will be in so much better shape. So do stuff like that first and build the foundation. Don't just jump in and try to do 275 squats. Yeah. You will not be in good shape if you do that. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to Twitter here again. This one is from Miyagi Jr., who is at Keneally5264. He says, how can I improve my ball handles if I have a smaller size ball?
I don't know that that's going to affect negatively having a smaller ball. You're probably talking about the women's basketball, which is
well, it could be one of those little ones, though.
Well, if you get it too small, it probably is not going to be very effective. But if you're working with the women's basketball, which is 28-inch ball,
28.5.
28.5, I'm sorry, and then the men's is a 29.5. You're going to find that probably there's not a whole lot of difference. The weight of the basketball sometimes will be a little bit different for you, but I don't think that's going to hurt you too much.
Yeah, but I mean, get a regular basketball. You'll be in better shape. They're not too expensive. Okay, this one, let's go to the chat. This is from Chaos2611, who says, my back hurts. Can you help me ameliorate this problem? It started hurting after I started playing basketball. We can't help you with that because that sounds like something you need to talk to your doctor about.
Exactly.
Maybe get some stretches or something like that going. But if it's hurting you, then you should get that checked out.
Right.
We cannot diagnose.
Right.
Let's see. This one is from Matthew Marks in the chat. He says, how can I get my vertical jump higher to dunk? I can touch the middle of the basketball net, and I'm 5'9". Okay. So what you need to do is you need to get yourself working on some kind of training program. And, you know, the one that we are going to always promote is our own because we spent a lot of time and effort putting it together, making sure it was safe for you guys, and that it would help you not only in developing your vertical, but just your overall athleticism. So check out our vertical jump videos, and if you type in just how to train your vertical or Shot Science vertical jump, that should be the first one that really comes up. I think it's a picture of Chase. And start on that. Get the vertical jump handbook, which is part of that, and it'll give you 3 months of daily training that will help you, and it just tells you exactly what to do, and you'll be set. And you know, you just got to keep working at it and realize that there is no quick fix or pill that you can take that will make you get 6 inches in 3 days.
No, there's no way. We see that advertised quite often. You know, increase your vertical by 10 inches in a month. That's impossible. It's impossible to do.
But what we will say, though,
hang on. Developing your vertical is hard work. And so when you go to that vertical jump handbook, you're going to see that it's going to take you, to get through a day's worth of work, it's going to take you about an hour and 15 minutes of really working hard. And as you do that day after day after day, you're going to see that suddenly there's starting to be more power in your jump. And one of the things that's really a key point of it, that there's actually 2 things that are keys. Number one is stretching the muscles and stretching them before and after you work out.
Dynamically.
The dynamic stretching. And then the other thing that's really important is just the foam rolling of that muscle tissue.
Yeah, and you know, we've talked to Chase, who is the one that has all the credentials for this stuff, for exercise science and physiology and everything. But what he tends to see a lot of is that people lack flexibility.
Yeah.
And what the flexibility comes down to is that you know, you have these adhesions in your muscles where your muscles are just tense and there's like knots there that aren't allowing you to use that part of the muscle for your athletic movements. And if you're able to stretch those and release those using the foam rolling, then you can actually gain huge amounts of potential that you didn't even know that you had already built up.
Right away.
So yeah, so
right
a lot
away.
of people, when they start doing the dynamic stretching package and they start doing the foam rolling, they find themselves gaining, you know, 2-3 inches all of a sudden, just because, you know, within a week or two, just because they're able to work out those adhesions in their muscles and they're able to get more stretch going. And it's almost with very little work that you're able to do that immediately. And then after that, that's when things become a little bit tougher and you have to work to get more and more out of it. But that's the way that training for anything is. Okay.
Have we got to be on Google Plus? Can't see.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to remind you guys, if you want to ask your questions, shoot them to us on Twitter. You can put them in the chat. You can also send them to us on here on the Google Plus app, and we will try to get to as many of those as we possibly can, but we got a lot already, so Twitter's the best place. This one is from, let's see, let's go back to the chat. This one is from DGK Steez again. How do I use more of my leg muscles? Well, a lot of that is teaching yourself to do that, and you have to learn how to activate that mind-muscle connection. So slowing it down, working on contracting those muscles and feeling it. We talk about that a little bit in the vertical jump videos. Also, sometimes when you're learning to use more of your legs at shooting, you do that by getting a little bit lower on your shot.
Well, there's another element about using the legs, particularly when you're shooting too, that's important, and that is that oftentimes what happens is we extend our legs and that extension is completed, and we have not yet started our shooting stroke. And what happens is that we're only left then with the muscles of our shoulders and arms, which only account for about 15-25% of our total power when we shoot. And so we teach everybody that we work with that what you want to really do is to, as you are starting your extension of your legs, that before it completes, then the arm is already starting to move in the shot. That way we connect the legs to our stroke. And when you find that happens, all of a sudden you've got way more power. And then the other thing that Casey just mentioned too is the fact that we want to take and dip a little deeper. And one of the things
dip. Sit your butt down and bend your legs a little bit.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, that's
mixed terminology.
Well, yeah, and we're talking about something we don't particularly care for anyway. But if we take and bend those legs just maybe 3 inches, it's amazing how much more power we get just by those 3 inches. And so it's not like you have to take and bend way down to get out. But if you bend maybe 3 inches more than you normally do, you're going to find out, and then connect that to the shot, you're going to find that you're going to have an awful lot more power for your shot.
And the thing, too, is that if you are doing that, just adding a little bit more of a bend to your knee, eventually you won't have to do that nearly as much because you'll be innervating your muscles and they'll be stronger and they'll connect better, and you won't have to dip nearly as much more into that knee bend.
Right.
And so if you just do that initially, eventually you'll work up to almost barely flexing your knees. And that's why you watch guys like Steph Curry, even Chase, if you look at his videos that we have up, you'll see that they aren't really bending their knees very far at all. But that was because they had built up the ability to connect those muscles to the shot. And like you said, connectivity is super important because anytime you have a sticking point, you lose power. Yep. So if you're extending your legs, stop, and then extending your body, stop, and extending your release, stop, then you're losing power at each one of those segments. You want it to all be fluid, and that's why you watch Steph Curry. Everything starts from the floor and doesn't end until he's released the ball.
In fact, that's probably a good saying, and I've let that kind of get away from me over the years. So one of the things I used to teach everybody when we were working is that your shot begins at your feet and ends at the end of your fingers. And that's really important that you consider that's really important.
Okay, this one is from Hector Serrano, who says, hey, I got a question. I'm 17 years old, and over here in my country, no one is really into basketball. My classmates are interested in starting to learn. I'm willing to help them learn some, but I don't know how to start. What's the best to start with? Start training the shooting or something else? I think it's good to have just a very comprehensive approach. So doing a little bit of everything, because that's kind of what you have to do. You've got to take baby steps into it. Mm-hmm. And so do the pillars of practice that we talked about. Diligent, slowed down practice of whatever the skill is, game speed, game intensity, and then get the experience. And since you guys are all kind of at the same level, you can all work together in doing that. But work on getting your shooting mechanics down. Yeah. I think just getting the fundamentals of everything and just starting from there is the best thing to do. Yeah. Work on ball handling and just stationary dribbling and trying to get that down where you're just pounding the ball into the floor. And same thing on defense. I mean, if you go to our channel, we have several hundred videos that will help you in any starting point that you need. If you need help with learning how to shoot, we got a ton of videos on that. If you need help with learning how to play defense, we have Defense 101 and then the videos that come off of that. If you need help with learning how to rebound, we have videos on that. So what
ball handling.
Ball handling, yeah. So what I would say is that go to our YouTube video or YouTube channel, and we have playlists on our front channel page that shows you how to develop your skills on all of that stuff. So just check that out. And if you need more help, come back and let us know, and we'll try to get that to you. Okay, this one is from Philip Kiripolsky, who says, "Hi, I'm 6'1" and I can almost dunk. However, I'm always jumping from both legs and can't perform one-legged jump. How can I learn it?" I would say go to our vertical jump videos and handbook and work on the exercises that we have in there. We have like single leg thrust jumps. We have the pistol squat stuff, and you really just have to work on getting the strength and stability going in each leg. Because once you're able to do that, then you're able to just use them as by themselves instead of just having to rely on going off of 2 feet. Right. Okay. This one is from Adrian G, who says, I got injured. I got an injured left knee, which makes my legs unbalanced as such that my right leg quad is way bigger and stronger than my left one. Any suggestions to incorporate my plays or even shooting form adaptations? Don't adapt around that. Why don't you fix that by working on developing your other leg? Yeah. I wouldn't just put in some weird way to shoot just because you're developed one leg
Yeah.
bigger than the other. Work on evening that balance out.
Yeah, even if it takes a little time to do it, you don't want to. That'll screw you up if you try to do that by making some kind of adjustments. Deal with that quadricep and get it stronger, and then you should just go right ahead with your training.
Yeah, and you'll end up running in circles if you don't figure that out. Okay, and hopefully, and the other thing too is it says you have an injured left knee. I get that fixed first. If there's some kind of rehab or something that you're working with your doctor, I mean, they should be the ones that are helping you figure that out. And if it's still injured and your other leg is developing more, that probably means that it's been a length of time. Get that figured out. Go see a doctor. Work on the rehab for that. Okay, here's one from Anthony Pereira who says, how can I work on shooting threes? I can get good long twos, but I can never get them three-pointers. Please help.
Okay. The biggest problem with shooting threes is we start shooting them before we're really ready. Not knowing how old you are really is kind of a difficulty for answering this question. Oftentimes we'll have young kids who are 11 or 12 years old and they're trying to shoot threes, and when that happens, usually the mechanics of your shot just go south on you. They become so corrupted that it's impossible for you to shoot the ball at that distance. One of the things you want to do is start in closer and begin to develop the comfort for dealing with, let's say, 10 feet, 12 feet, 14 feet, and just kind of work your way back. The biggest problem that most people have with shooting threes is they do not connect the legs to the stroke. And what happens is that the shot usually is short and flat. Or if it's really offline, because when we get back further from the basket, we think that we need to have more arm and shoulder power, and so we rotate the shoulders, and what happens is the ball goes off to the side. So remembering this, that the arms, hands, all that, they are guidance. That's what they do, is guide the ball to the basket. Yeah, and the thing that happens is that as soon as we start using them as basic power tools, that's when our shot gets corrupted and we are not going to be very accurate. What you want to do is learn how to use the power of the legs and the midsection, which are the largest muscles in your body. Up here you've got your biceps, triceps, delts, and the muscles of the shoulder, and none of them are even close to the size and mass of the muscles that you have in your butt. The gluteus muscles of your butt are usually big, large muscles, then your quads and hamstrings, and finally your calves, to say nothing of the core muscle group of your abs. Those are loaded with power, and the biggest problem that most people have when they are having trouble shooting further distance is they are not using those muscles, and they're not, well, they may be using them, but they're not connecting them to the stroke. And there is a point there in that connection which is real important. As I start to shoot, I want to take and begin my stroke mechanics for the shot before my legs are completely extended. That's really important so we catch some of that power.
Well, think about this. Okay, if you are learning, if you're training to do squats or something like that, and you step out on the bar and you just do the bar, right? That's like shooting a 2-foot shot.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back and you shoot a 3-pointer right after working on that 2-point shot, that's two-foot shot, and you put on 300 pounds onto the squat rack, and you try to do that, you're not going to be able to do it because you have not worked yourself back.
Right.
So what you have to do when you're shooting, it's just like when you're training for anything else. If you're training to squat, 300 pounds, you have to work yourself up to that. That's not something that you go from the bar to 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So when you're learning to shoot, you need to learn to master that 2-foot shot, step back, master the 4-foot shot, step back, master the 6-foot shot. Eventually, you get back to 19.9, which is the 3-point line, and you're able to make that shot with the proper mechanics in place, and you don't have to strain. There's no extra effort that really needs to be expended at the expense of your mechanics.
Right.
So work yourself back.
Especially your stroke mechanics. That's real important that you don't corrupt those. By the way, if you take a look at our playlist on our channel, you will find a video there, and it's called Make the 3-Pointer, Get Your Legs Into It. That explains pretty completely about our thinking on the use of leg power.
Okay. Lightning round. We know what that means. Short answers to all these. Okay?
Yes, right.
We always fail, but here we go. We're going to try to get through as many questions as we can in the last 10 minutes here. But this is from Nathan Thompson, who is at NateT_AF, who asked a question earlier. He says, I agree, weight training is overused in basketball, but should I get stronger if I want to box out better? Boxing out is more about leverage than it is about strength. That's why, you know, you can see smaller guys that are able to box out big guys because they're lower and they have lower centers of gravity. They get their butt into the guy. They have their wings out. And, you know, that's more what it's about than strength. You know, you can be a big guy, big, strong guy. You can get blocked out by a guy that is, you know, 5'6", and you're not going to be able to get around him if he has the right mechanics of boxing out.
Right. One of the things that I always love the word blocking out as opposed to boxing out. So they mean the same thing. Okay, but the boxing out, the thing that's real important there, as Casey mentioned, is get your butt into their legs. And make sure that you're not leaning back with them on with your shoulders, because you've got their center of gravity so far back, they step away and you can fall on your butt. I remember seeing Karl Malone, that happened to him in a game. He was leaning on this guy, and the guy just stepped away from me. He went to sat down on the floor because he was trying to muscle him backwards. So the thing that you want to do is get the mass of your butt into their legs and get your hands
low
and stay low, and make sure you learn how to crab as they start to working around you from side to side. Crabbing is taking little short steps but maintaining your position in front of them. And these elbows, when we have them out here, like Casey's here, those are great feelers. Those elbows kind of help you not only keep track of where they are, but it also helps you to kind of pin them. And nothing hurts worse than to be hit right here in the sternum with one of those sharp little elbows.
You're not even hitting them. You have them out. I mean, they're just sharp as it is.
Yeah, and you can't get off the floor if they've got that elbow in your sternum either. And so the thing
so you're not pinning, you're not holding. You got your arms out, and you just have those sharp elbows that are holding them back.
Right. One of the things in rebounding that I see that I think is, number one, I don't know who coaches this, but I do know who coaches it, but I'm not saying anything about it. But oftentimes they'll reach back and they'll try and hold the player with their arms so they can't get around them.
There's a lot of things wrong with that.
Well, yeah, you can't hold that guy like that, because
that and the fact that the ball, I mean, you got to pull your arms up to go get it anyways.
Yeah, and it takes so much time to get your hands up to the ball. You know, blocking out, when the reality of blocking out or boxing out somebody is you have about 1.5 seconds of time, maybe 2, where you actually are getting into position and making contact, and then it's time to go get the basketball.
And here's the
it happens much quicker than most.
Here's the other thing that's wrong with that too. If the guy has his arm and if he's holding me back like this with his arms down, all I have to do is swim move over him, and I'm past him, and that doesn't look like a foul.
Yeah.
Now get your elbows up like this, and if I come up and I go like that, I'm fouling the crap out of him, and they're going to call that. Yeah. So if you are trying to keep that guy behind you, use those strong elbows, and it's going to be real painful for that guy to get around you.
And crabbing your feet. Now, just to emphasize one more time, is that when you are blocking or boxing somebody out, all of that happens in about 2 seconds. And because how long does it take the ball to get to the basket? It takes it about a minute or 1.5 to 2 seconds to get there.
Okay, lightning round. Already failed on the first question. Okay, let's go through these real quick. This one is from Nathan again. He says, also, what do you think about a possible trade for Kevin Love from my home team going to Golden State, your home team? It would be great, but we don't want to lose guys like Klay Thompson or David Lee. I mean, well, David Lee.
David Lee's he's critical, yeah.
But I mean, it would be awesome if we could get him for not very much.
Yeah.
But we don't know what's going to happen there. Okay. This is from STL, who is at STL_David Boss on Twitter. He says, is strength required to be an excellent shooter? No.
Not really, no.
A lot of it is about connectivity, efficiency, and just getting the practice in.
Right.
Okay. This is from, let's see, Craig McHugh. He says, what are your thoughts on LeBron James returning to the Cavs? Yippee.
Whatever.
I think the way that he handled it this time was probably a lot better than the last time.
Yeah, right.
So less flack there. Let's see. Let's go back to the chat here. This one is from Jerome Brown, who says, hey, I'm playing a lot of full contact sports, and I like to play basketball, and I'm scared that if I get injured during like football or lacrosse, It will affect my basketball skills. What do you think I should do?
Mm.
Well, injury is always something that could potentially happen in any sport.
Yeah, it could happen in basketball just as well as it could lacrosse.
You just got to weigh kind of the risk and rewards that you see, and if it's not there for you, then that's the way it is.
Yeah.
The other thing is just working on building up your body with athleticism, because that will help you prevent injury. Go check out our buddy Alan Stein's channel, because on Stronger Team, he talks a lot about building up your different areas of your body so that you prevent injury.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Let's go through some of these questions here. This is from Pinoy Gamer, who asks, how do I start dribbling fast?
Well,
and that's also from Skate R Awesome Zine, I guess, is asking that too.
Yeah. Well, I'm not always. This is a question we hear quite often. I'm not really sure.
Lightning round.
I know what you mean by fast. If it means that you dribble up the floor faster, you need to push the dribble out in front of you. If you're trying to get by somebody, you just have to keep the ball lower and keep more efficient with your dribbles, and not let it get too high, not let it get too far away from your body.
Well, like you always say, pound the ball no matter what.
Yep.
And I think also the really important thing too is keep the ball on your finger pads so that you have control of it.
Yep.
Keep it off your palm, no slapping, no petting the dog. It's all about having control and really pounding the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, and check out our Dribbling 101 video. That will help you with that. Okay, lost my place. This one is from Hamza Malik, who says, use of offhand? I usually don't see players use their offhand that much.
That's because they don't practice on it.
But he says, when you shoot. Okay.
Okay.
So if you're trying to develop your left hand or your offhand for dribbling, that is key.
Yep.
For shooting, it's only important when you're within about 3 or 4 feet of the basket, so that you're able to go either way on the backboard, right, doing something like the Mikan drill, or just little shots that are like right there by the basket.
Close in, yeah.
When you step away from the basket, outside of 4 or 5 feet and back, don't worry about shooting with your other hand, because what happens is that you will become a very mediocre shooter at best with both hands, yeah, instead of a great shooter with one hand. And if you're trying to decide whether to take a shot with either hand because of the defense, then it's not a good shot.
Exactly.
Because if I am a right-handed shooter and it would be a better shot for me to take it left-handed because of the defense, you don't have the space to shoot. Learn how to create space, and you will be in much better shape than learning how to shoot with the other hand. Yeah. Develop your strong hand, make it dead-eye, and then work on creating space using different moves for that. Okay, that was a little long too. Sorry. Let's see. Basket Bob says, what about a slight turn to the left so that your shooting arm is aligned to the basket without straining it? Yeah, I mean, we are big supporters of that slight stagger towards your shooting side, because it lines up everything. Your shooting hand, elbow, shoulder.
Hang on a second. One of the things that Casey's talking about there is starting that way, so that you stagger, so that if you're a right-hander, your right shoulder is leading. We don't like that turn as you're doing that, because that adds one of those elements to the shot that can make it be less effective. And and people would disagree with that, but that's our finding after a lot of years, is that if we turn that shoulder, we're going to have a lot more effect on accuracy than if we're trying to turn it as we're getting into the shot.
Okay, here's the last question for today. This one is from Oscar Brun, or Brun on Twitter, who is at OscarBO2, who says, can you help me? I'm a short guy, so blocking shots from tall guys isn't easy. Any tips that will help me? Sorry for my bad English. Your English wasn't bad.
No. Okay. Blocking shots is so overhyped. If you're a short guy and you're trying to block bigger guys, you're setting yourself up to collect fouls. The thing that you want to do is maybe even more important than trying to block shots of bigger guys is don't let them catch the ball in the first place.
Yep.
And the thing is that if you're shorter than they are, you're going to be a little quicker than they are, and so you get in and front them. And one of the things that we teach, and we found this to be really effective, is that if I'm going to get around in front of a big guy, I've got an arm bar on his chest, and the other hand is extended straight up as far as I can reach. And what happens is that tends to discourage those passes where they want to lob them in over the top. It doesn't look so easy when you've got that arm fully extended. If you've got it bent and it's down here, oh well, that'll look to toss it right over. But as soon as you extend it and get the arm bar into their chest, they're not going to be so likely to catch it. So trying to block shots when you're a much shorter guy is a formula for getting yourself to the bench.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If you think about it, great shot blockers may get 2 or 3 blocks in a game.
Right.
Okay shot blockers might get 1. So that's just 1 or 2 possessions that you're really changing because you're blocking a shot.
Yeah.
If you're able to deny them the ball, if you're able to stay in front of them and contest their shot just to make it so that they miss, then you're going to be in much better shape because they're probably going to touch the ball more than 2 or 3 times in the course of a game. So change your focus from trying to block shots from just making their life hard once they, or from catching the ball and once they catch the ball.
Well, one of the things that if you get caught in a situation where they have the ball and they're turning to face it, there's a little technique which is called a belly up or a wall up. And in that situation, what you do is you get belly button to belly button with them, and you extend the arms as far as you can straight up. And even though they may be taller, oftentimes they are not able to get that shot off effectively. And so you're seeing more and more of that in especially in college basketball and high school basketball, where somebody inside gets the ball and it works. It's really effective. We teach our guys to do that, and they immediately wall up and get as close as they can to the guy. And when we say belly button to belly button, it means that's how close you are.
And we have 2 videos you can check out for that. We have how to close out,
yep,
and then we have belly up and mirror,
yep,
which are 2 videos that you can see that in action. And the thing about it is that it keeps you on the floor so that you're not susceptible to the guy giving you a shot fake, you jumping in the air trying to block it, and he just goes right by you.
Well, he steps under you and takes the foul on you.
Well, he can do that, or he can go just right by you.
Right.
So what you want to do is stay on the floor, make it a contested shot. Chances are good that he's probably not going to make it. Okay, so that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you so much for all your questions. If we didn't get to your question, it wasn't because we didn't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. And if you want to ask us your question later, you can send it to us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, wherever, and we will try to get to as many of those as we possibly can. You can go to subscribe on our YouTube videos, and if you find a video that is kind of related to your question, that's the best, because then we can really get back to you with the right information. And also, make sure you're subscribed and following us at all those places, on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and YouTube. And let's see, I guess we'll be back next week, Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Please tell all your friends. We'll see you guys then.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.